guys, my last one, I kind of just read an article rather than doing my own research like I normally do. And so I wanted to do another one with my own notes, my own writing. I will leave I used one article mostly out of all the research that I did, so I will leave that linked down below if you want to read it for yourself and see photos. I am not going to include too many photos in this video because the only ones that I found really were like photos of the victims, and I'm not gonna put that in my video. So if you want to go see that, and by that I mean like victims after the crimes took place, you know, so don't want to put that in my videos, but yeah, if you want to go look for yourself, that'll all be linked down below. But we're going to be talking about a man by the name of Jason Vukovich. I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. He is also known as the Alaskan Avenger. So that's who we're going to be talking about today. Like I say at the beginning of all of my true crime videos, just my normal disclaimer, these videos are not intended for anyone over the age of 14. That is not the audience that I'm looking to target here. True crime videos are obviously contain a lot of sensitive topics and information, things that can be triggering for some. So also keep that in mind no matter what age you are. But yeah, they can be a little too intense for younger audiences. So if you are younger, or if just crime isn't your thing and you get spooked easily, and you don't think you can fall asleep to this, then that's totally okay. This video just may not be for you, so just keep that in mind. Okay, but like I said, we are going to be talking about Jason Vukovich. Now, the article that I did my research using the headline called him the hammer-wielding pedophile hunter, known as the Alaskan Avenger. And if any of you are familiar with the show Dexter, if you have been with me for a while, you may know that I was a very big fan of Dexter, and the story of Dexter is like so similar to this. If you don't know, Dexter was a serial killer who went after other killers, so he felt like he was doing a good deed when he was killing people. So Jason here, after the trials and, you know, all the questioning that he went through in interviews, he said he felt an overwhelming desire to go after the people that he did, and for reasons that we will see in a second as we get started. So just a little bit of background information on Jason. He was born in Anchorage, Alaska in 1975. He was born to a single mother, and later she remarried to a man by the name of Larry Lee Fulton, and he legally adopted Jason and his siblings as his own children. So when you hear me refer to Jason's parents, I'm referring to technically, I mean, it is his real legal dad, but his mom's second husband, so not his biological father. However, instead of being a father figure to his children, you know, and a guardian and all the things that a dad is supposed to be, he actually became Jason's abuser. And according to Jason, you know, his parents were, you know, they were Christians, they were dedicated Christians. They went to every church service possible and, you know, wanted the kids to go to, so they would go to church 2-3 times a week. And so, you know, Jason, I think I have a quote here. Yes, he says, "So you can imagine the horror and confusion I experienced when this man who adopted me began using late-night prayer sessions to molest me." So he was abused in multiple ways, including physical abuse. Larry beat them with wooden sticks, pieces of wood, and also whipped them with with his belt. During Jason's trial, when, his family went through, questioning too about him, his brother confessed that they had indeed suffered throughout their childhood because of Larry, sexually and physically. And he said that it was his job to go first and kind of take the brunt of the beating, and he did that so that Larry would kind of spend less time on Jason and just leave Jason alone. But Jason still was also abused. In 1989, Larry was actually charged with second-degree abuse of a minor. However, for reasons that I could not find, he did not serve jail time. And according to Jason, it always really hurt him that no one, in the area, anyone that knew the family, no one came to check on them after hearing, what Larry had done to them. So now this abuse continued until Jason was 16, and at that point, he and his brother ran away from home. They ended up in Washington State, and so now you have to remember, he is 16, he's a minor, he has no identification, he has no finances, like bank account, nothing, he has nothing. So he turned to crime, a life of crime, in order to survive, burglary, things like that. And he started to build a rap sheet with local cops in the area. They very quickly found out who he was and what he was about. And later, again, during his trial, it came out, or he claimed that, turning to crime was related to this deep feeling of self-hate that he had, starting, with the trauma and the abuse that he went through as a child. And I have a lot of quotes in here, and I have another one here that says, "My silent understanding that I was worthless, a throwaway, the foundations laid in my youth never went away." So that stuff obviously stayed with him, and he was like, well, what's the point, might as well just stay in this lifestyle because I'm not, better than this. That was his mentality. So as time went on, he built a criminal record in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and California. In the year 2008, he moved back to Alaska, where he racked up a number of additional criminal charges, including theft, possession of a controlled substance, and the assault of his then-wife, which he's always denied, but he was charged for that as well. Now, in 2016, 8 years later, his untreated childhood trauma, which I think with time just gets worse, it was never treated, he never had counseling, therapy, nothing. And it reached a point where it went to a whole new level because he was still very angry. So he began to read through the registry of sex offenders in his area, and he decided to go after his own justice. At least in his mind, that's what he thought he was doing. So in June of that same year, he sought out 3 men that he picked, that he found out where they lived in the local index, found their addresses, and decided to punish them for things that they had done in the past. So he had a notebook that he kept with them with their names and their addresses, and their names were Charles Albee, Andre Barbosa, and Wesley Demarest. So the first one he went after was Charles Albee, who at the time was 68 years old. So on June 24th, again of that same year, Jason went to Charles's house, knocked on the door. He pushed the man inside because he was an older man, so he figured physically, he would have no problem. So he forced himself in the house, kind of pushed Charles back into the house and ordered him to sit on his bed. He slapped him around a couple times, slapped him in the face a couple you are. I know what you've done in the past. And he told him how he found him, like all of it. He told him all of it. But all he did was slap him up a couple times, and then he stole some money, and then he left. So he did leave him be after taking what he wanted. The next person he went after was Andre Barbosa, and he used the same method to get in the house. He always knocked on the door and forced himself inside once the man came to the door. This time, however, he went at 4 a.m. and he brought 2 females with him. And it turns out that he told the females, whoever the women were, he said, "We're going to collect money that this man owes me." So they went to like be his accomplices or whatever. One woman videotaped the whole thing, and which is dumb, but whatever. And then the second one robbed him, took things out of his wallet, things in the apartment, and a couple things from his truck, actually. So again, Jason had him sit down on the bed, slapped him around a couple times, and threatened him with a hammer. He had a hammer with him this time. And without warning, then punched him in the face, which he didn't do with the first one. It was like every time he went after one of these men, it just got more and more violent. So this time he punched the man in the face again, said, "I know who you are, what you did, whatever, you have to pay for what you've done." And he warned him that he would bash his dome in with the hammer. That was like his tactic this time around, his way to be threatening. But again, after punching him in the face, he did get a significant black eye. It's pretty big. I saw a picture of it again. If you follow the link to the article, you'll see all the pictures. He did have a pretty rough black eye, but he lived and he wasn't hit by the hammer or anything. The next one was a little more violent. He went after the third man, 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓪. Wesley heard someone breaking into his house around 1 a.m. Jason did do the same thing where he knocked on the door first, but I guess because it was 1 a.m. no one came to the door fast enough, and he forced himself in. I'm not sure exactly how, but he forced himself inside either through a window or breaking down the door or something. Jason then told Wesley to sit on the bed. Wesley said no. He then told him to get down on his knees. Wesley also said no to that, so now Jason was getting very upset. He didn't feel like he had the power that he wanted, and so he struck him in the face with the hammer. During the assault, Jason told him, quote, he said, "I'm an avenging angel. I'm going to mete out justice for the people that you hurt." He genuinely did think of himself as like a guardian angel for these kids who had been molested by these men. And you take into account all the things that he went through as a child. I'm so not saying it's okay. Don't take this as me saying that, because there's no excuse for beating someone in the face with a hammer. But, at least we know where that mentality is coming from, right? So then he stole Wesley's laptop, a couple of other items, and fled. Later on, Wesley, hours later, woke up in his own blood and immediately called the police. And it didn't take the police long to figure out that it was Jason. If you remember one, they kind of already knew who he was. He had a rap sheet. He was known for doing certain things in the area. But aside from that, not too far away, he was sitting in his Honda Civic, and he had the notebook. I don't know if he was sleeping or like what he was doing. I don't know, but they found him in his car, parked on the street. He had the notebook with the 3 men's names and addresses, and he had the hammer and all the things that he stole. So there was literally no denying that it was him and that he was involved in this. So he was arrested right on the spot, and he was later charged with 18 counts of assault, robbery, burglary, and theft. He first pleaded not guilty, but then he decided to kind of make a deal with the prosecutors, and so he got a different sentence. So he pled guilty to first-degree attempted assault and first-degree robbery. In exchange for that, the prosecutors dismissed over a dozen additional charges, and in 2018 he was sentenced to 28 years in prison, and with 5 years suspended, and another 5 he will spend on probation. So he's got a good 25 years left in prison on top of the probation and all that. So he will not, health permitting, he won't die in jail. So now I have a couple more quotes that I just think are important to include. So all this was said after he was sentenced to those 28 years. And he kind of, like, he doesn't necessarily regret what he did, but he doesn't want others who have been abused to follow in his footsteps. So the first quote I have says, "I thought back to my experiences as a child. I took matters into my own hands and assaulted 3 pedophiles. If you have already lost your youth, like me, due to a child abuser, please do not throw away your present and your future by committing acts of violence." And he encourages people to, I think it said, to find inner peace first before, doing something that's going to ruin your life like this. And now there are actually people, especially like a lot of people, I don't know if I should say a lot, but a good number of people, especially in Alaska, that do actually view him as a hero. Like, he did a good thing for these kids. And there are people who believe that he didn't deserve to be punished at all. I personally am not there. I do think he should have been punished. But like I said, I understand where his mentality came from, I guess. Or I can try to. I've never obviously been through that, but you know what I mean. And so to that, the judge said, vigilantism won't be accepted in our society. That's what he said. He still had to, sentence him to something. Wesley, the last man that was attacked, who is now 70 years old, he struggles to form coherent sentences. He lost his job due to the traumatic brain damage that the hammer to the face took. But there was a quote that said, this Jason Vukovich, he said, he did ruin my life, or he did take my life from me, or something like that. And so he was like, I guess he got what he wanted. One of the other guys, I think it was Andre, it was the one who had been punched in the face, I'm pretty sure. And, he was saying no, like, he deserves 100% to be locked up, and he said, I would feel much more comfortable with him being locked away for as long as I'm alive. So now, alright, last quote I have from this guy. It says, "I began my life sentence many, many years ago. It was handed down to me by an ignorant, hateful, poor substitute for a father. I now face losing most of the rest of my life due to a decision to lash out at people like him. To all those who have suffered like I have, love yourself and those around you. This is truly the only way forward." Which, it's funny, like, him, like, the way he speaks, and a lot of this was written, so I don't know, maybe if he had help, I don't know, but he seems, like, very intelligent, like, I don't know. And I think it's nice that he's, trying to, I guess, encourage younger people to not do what he did and not go around hitting people in the face with a hammer. But stories like this are just very, very, very sad to me, because they could so be easily avoided. It's just that some people have absolutely no business being a parent. And this Larry guy just screwed up Jason's life. And he held so much resentment and so much anger that he felt the need to go out and do something like this. It's just very sad to me. Very, very sad. So, he's got about 25 years or so behind bars. I don't feel like doing that math. I don't know how old he'll be when he gets out, but anyway, yeah, that is the story of the Alaskan Avenger. Again, I will try to include a couple of photos throughout the video. There are a lot of pictures of him in the courtroom. There's one of like him and his brother in the courtroom, like, well, he's like smiling at his brother. So I'll try to put those in there. I'm sure you already saw them, considering we're at the end of the video now. But anyway, so I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I know this was a little shorter than most of my true crime videos, but I hope that you enjoyed the story. I'm very curious to see what you guys think about this story. And as always, leave me more comments down below for more true crime videos, and I will look into them. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video.